What is up, YouTube? I'm Galdite74 here, bringing you guys week 4 of the APM. This week we're taking on Gel Bell, coach of the Nihilegoats. I think that's how you say it. We're going into this game with a 1-2 record, while my opponent is going into this game with a 3-0 record. He is undefeated right now, so this is going to be a pretty hard matchup. To recap what happened last week for you guys, we did end up winning in a pretty solid game. I feel like it was a pretty clean game overall, and I was happy to take the W and get our first win in the APM. Gel Bell is the person who actually took the Alcremie that I wanted on this team. I have Aromatisse, but originally that was supposed to be Alcremie, and Gel Bell took it, so I'm not really happy about that. But, you know, whatever, it is what it is. This is going to be a tough task, this battle this week, because Gel Bell is just a really good battler overall, and his record shows it. I watched all of his battles, and it's going to be a hard one. However, the matchup is pretty even, so we do have a shot at winning this, of course. He does have some noticeable weaknesses on his team, as I will break down in a bit, but he does have some solid synergy too. And that is basically a rundown of Gel Bell's team. And without further ado, let's get into his team. So, Gel Bell's team this week consists of Talonflame, Latias, Dracofish, Starmie, Poltergeist, Mimikyu, Roserade, Cobalion, Crocodile, Alcremie, Regirock, and Dynamax Electrode. Now I expect him to consist of Talonflame, Dracofish, Mimikyu, Roserade, Cobalion, and Crocodile. The only other mon I could possibly see coming is the Poltergeist, because that thing with the Shell Smash up is pretty scary, but outside of that, I expect these 6 mons. And new mons he has on his team are Dracofish, Poltergeist, and Alcremie. Things that are really annoying, HP Ice and just 4 attacks Cobalion is really hard to switch into, because my main switch in this week is Gliscor. In this particular game, I feel like 4 attacks, Iron Head, Close Combat, Stone Edge, HP Ice is just really hard to switch into, and I have to be really careful trying to play around that and pivoting into that thing. That's a pretty big threat. Roserade with Spike's 3 attacks, I do not have the greatest defoggers in the entire world, and Roserade just dents a hole in my team with like Giga Drain, Sludge Bomb, Hidden Power, and Spikes. The key thing is, what Hidden Power is he going to run? Will he run Ice with the Gliscor or Ground for the Magnezone? I've personally seen a lot of my opponents have been running a lot of Hidden Power Ice, so I'm sort of expecting him to run that, but he could run the Ground just because it still hits the Magnezone, and Giga Drain still does a decent chunk to the Gliscor. Anyway, that is another big threat on my opponent's side. And just things that are pretty annoying is that like Talonflame and Roserade basically stop Superior from sweeping his team. With Mimikyu around, Blacephalon can never sweep a team, even if it does get a few Beast Boosts up. Gliscor offensively wasn't the greatest this week, so you see I did have a few roadblocks in the way, and it's going to be a little bit hard to break down his team just because of the good synergy he has. He does have a glaring ghost weakness though, which is something I'm going to try and exploit, and I'm going to try and make Blacephalon the win con this week. And my goal sort of is just to paralyze his whole team, so nothing's outspeeding, and then once I get a boost, it's going to be a lot easier to deal with. And I also expect him to bring like an AV Crocodile to maybe have a decent switch into that thing. But that is basically the breakdown of my opponent's team this week. What I am rocking out with this week, it consists of Blacephalon, Superior, Porygon 2, Goodra, Magnezone, and Gliscor. Okay, first up we have the win con. We have Blacephalon here. I am able to run Modest this week. I do outspeed max speed Crocodile. I am holding the heavy duty boots with Flamethrower, Shadow Ball, Flame Charge, and Sub. Flame Charge is not the most important thing in the entire world, but it's just in case I don't end up paralyzing the Talonflame or the Cobalion or stuff like that. I do have Flame Charge as an option. Obviously he does have Ghost weakness, so this is just stupid spammable against his team. His only real switch-ins are either the Crook and the Regirock, and Regirock's not that good against my team. And while Crook can be a little bit more annoying, I do have a few ways to deal with that as well. And then there's the Mimikyu with Shadow Sneak. And Mimikyu is also a mon that's not that great against my team, it's just Blacephalon particularly. So if I can get rid of Mimikyu and at least weaken the Crook, and I can pick up a kill, the game's basically almost over just because of how good Blacephalon is offensively in this game. And that's why I decided to make it the win con in the end. That, and of course I need to paralyze a few things. And that is basically a quick rundown of the Blacephalon. Being Modest Nature really helps as well, because it makes a lot of things do like 70%, which doesn't sound relevant, but if you get like rocks, if you like switch into a few moves, like maybe I switch into like a Earthquake from Gliscor, or a move from Goodra, you see what I mean? Just a little bit of chip I need on a few things, and then I can just OHKO it, which is really nice. Next up we have Superior. Superior is holding the leftovers. This is a defensive one. Enough speed to outspeed max speed Fish with Leaf Storm, Hidden Power, Fire, Glare, and Synthesis. I said Paralysis was huge in this game. I have Glare for that reason. This thing is completely walled by the Talonflame and the Roserade, which I do expect both of them to come, but if I do paralyze the Talonflame, that's going to be great. And I do expect Rose Raid to be the technician over natural cure, so that thing will stay paralyzed, which is always just nice in the end. But outside of those two, this is pretty good against my opponent's team. I did have knockoff originally, but I felt like HP Fire for the Kabalion would be nice just because I guess it's my better switch into this. But the main reason I put this on the team was to switch into the Dracofish, because switching into Dracofish is really hard. The Fishiest Friend already does almost half to me. If I switch in on it on a banded one, it does half. I am able to recover it up if it's banded, so it's not doing nearly as much the following turn. But you get the gist of why I need to keep Superior healthy at almost all times, because that thing is such a big threat to my team. And I will have a chance to paralyze it at least once I get in, or if I, whatever, you see, you get what I mean. But that is basically Superior's job, is to spread paralysis, and if Rose Raid and Talonflame are gone for whatever reason, I can probably sweep this with this thing too. That is basically the Superior. Next up we have P2. P2 is holding the Eviolite, very mixed bulk, but I lean especially defensive in the end with Trace. Moves being Foul Play, Ice Beam, Thunder Wave, and Recover. Thunder Wave, again, for paralysis. It's so big. Foul Play is for stuff like Mimikyu, Swords Dance, Talonflame, very offensive Latias, Poltergeist if it smashes, because that just blows it back. So you see Foul Play has a lot of good utility in this matchup. Ice Beam is pretty spammable too. It's good for stuff like the Crook if I stay in on Crook for whatever reason. Rose Raid, it hits pretty well. It's my best Rose Raid switch in, which is not that great if it's offensive, so I have to be a little bit careful about that. And Ice Beam is for Latias too, and even if I don't beat the Latias 1v1, I could at least T-Wave it and put it in range for something like Blacephalon or even like Magnezone or Goodra later. So it's not the biggest deal in the entire world, but again, same thing with the Superior, except it's just a different type of wall, and it deals with setup a little bit better than the Superior. And that is basically the P2. Next up is Goodra. Goodra, this is an interesting set. We're running Choice Scarf with enough speed to outspeed the Dracofish if it's Scarf, with Outrage, Power Whip, Earthquake, and Breaking Swipe. Now, I ran Physical for a few reasons. A, if he brings Calm Mind Latias, it's a really easy way to revenge it. B, he has more like special bulk on his team than physical bulk, and I felt like I could take advantage of that. I do have to be a little bit careful about locking myself into Outrage. He does have Mimikyu, Alcremie, and Kabalion. And Mimikyu is scary. I don't see Alcremie coming, but if it does, it makes Goodra's job a little bit harder. And Kabalion, well, that thing's going to be really annoying. If I click Earthquake, it's going to do around half to it, and that's really nice. I don't really expect to be clicking Outrage right away. It's just if all those things are gone, or if Kabalion's chipped, then I can lock myself into Outrage. And his team, outside of those three mons, really hates Outrage, and that's why I felt like it would be good up in this matchup. Power Whip was, I think, just for Starmie, or it was for Crook. Some extra damage and having to not lock into the Outrage early. Breaking Swipe was another option if I chip down the Latias with the fish. I can click that move pretty freely. And I just thought Scarf Goodra was pretty good in this matchup. It gave me a middle ground between Rose Raid and Talonflame, which I desperately needed at this point. So that is basically the Goodra set. Fifth up we have Magnezone. Magnezone is modest, max special attack with the Air Bloom, Analytic. Moves being Volt Switch at Thunder Up. I had no move to put in that last slot, so I just threw Psych Up on there just in case he wants to be like cheeky with Calm Mind. The other setup that could benefit Magnezone, I felt like this would be a great tech to throw on. Air Balloons for HP Ground, Rose Raid, or any ground move in general, particularly, but also like the Crook. It would force Crook to take a Flash Cannon. It does not want to take a Flash Cannon. I wouldn't be shocked if I have Magnezone trade early in the game, because Magnezone can take any one hit from the Kabalion, and can take any one hit from the Talonflame. So if I can get rid of one of those two, that would be open a door for something else, and I think I could see myself using that. I didn't see a use for Magnet Pull just because I lose the Kabalion 1v1, and if I can get the Analytic boost, T-Bolt does almost KOs it. I think I need a little bit of chip, but overall it does that. And just Magnezone was just pretty good overall on the team. It was actually the final thing I threw on instead of my 6-mon, which I'm going to transition to now, and that's going to be the Gliscor. Gliscor is just Toxic Orb standard Gliscor. It's actually defensive this week with not a crazy amount of speed. Earthquake, Rock Tomb, Defog, and Protect. I felt like no hazards on my side was better than hazards on my opponent's side, because I felt like my opponent would bring Heavy Duty Boots, Talonflame, so I felt like there was no point of throwing up Rocks, because that's really the best thing Rocks is there for. I don't really see any use outside of that. And plus, I could use Rock Tomb just to nuke that thing anyway. Defog is to get rid of the hazards that Rose Raid will most likely set up. And Earthquake was pretty spammable. It wasn't good from an offensive standpoint, but just from a chipping standpoint, just to chip some things down, Earthquake was really good in this matchup overall. I do have to be a little bit careful about Latias because it's just basically a free switch in, but I can deal with that with like P2 and other things as well. And it's also pretty good switching to the Crocodile and the Regirock as well, just in case he wants to deal with the Blacephalon. And that is basically the Gliscor set, and that is the team in a nutshell. I'm pretty excited to use this thing, though I'm not the most confident in the entire world with this team. One more note before I end this. This was a pretty long battle. It wasn't stally, but it was more in the sense that we had a lot of positioning issues. Like, I'm trying to position into a position where I could win while my opponent was doing the same thing, and it just made it a long battle. The speed on this will be normal. I usually keep it on slow for showdown, but I'm putting on normal just to speed it up a bit, but I will slow it down at some important parts of the battle. With that all being said, we're going to head over to Pokemon Showdown, and we're going to watch the battle. Okay, we are here on Pokemon Showdown. As I did mention, this is a long battle, so it is going to be a little bit faster than normal. He did bring the Alcremie and the Starmie, but did not bring the Cobalion and the Mimikyu. Him not bringing Mimikyu absolutely shook my mind. Blacephalon and Superior look really good here overall. Goodra not so much because the Alcremie came. It makes my life a little bit harder trying to use Dragon moves, but if I can kill that thing, it won't be too bad. I led with P2 expecting the Talonflame, but that did not happen. I didn't want to lose my Eviolite. Instead, I wanted my Serp to lose the leftovers, but luckily he does switch out, so I don't lose an item at all. And I learned turn 2 that this Rose Raid is a bulky Rose Raid, so it's a little bit better in terms of trying to switch into it, but it's going to be a little bit more annoying to kill. As you see, only Ice Beam only to 34%. I'm going to paralyze it because this thing is Technician, and having a chance to get paralysis is kind of nice. I am Air Balloon Magnezone, which is really nice here. I'm just going to say, I know he can go around the Crook as he does, but I do click Voltage anyway, just in case he wanted to overpredict. As I go into Gliscor, and losing, this is a big turn, because I lose my Toxic Orb. And this is huge because I am not going to be able to heal off for the rest of the game. I can't recover. I do get a defog off, which is nice, because spikes are annoying against some members of my team. I found out this thing does have Natural Cure, so he Toxics me, which is funny. I can just switch out and get rid of it. If I had stayed in, this game would be a whole lot different with the Gliscor and a Heat Toxic that. I make an aggressive switch in the Magnezone, expecting him not to stay in. But this time he does stay in and click Surf again, as I just absolutely destroy this thing with a Volt Switch. And Starmie goes down, which is really nice. I did kill one of his Blacephalon answers. As now he goes on the Talonflame on my Clown. I don't want to stay in this situation. But again, to reiterate, if I stayed in on that Toxic earlier, then this game would be a whole lot different, because I would have been able to get my Toxic Orb activated, or my Poison Heal would be activated. That's it. Anyway, I go into Serp on the Dracofish, and he uses Ice Fang, so good move on his part. I should have protected just to scat out for that. That is not banded. That might be like Adamant Scarf though, because that's still the decent chunk. I do just heal up as he's messing around with the Dracofish a bit. As long as Superior is healthy, I'm not really too scared of that thing. As I just T-Wave, I was ready to take this hit because Rose Raid's more defensive. I don't have to worry about having too much health. As Alcremie gets paralyzed, which is kind of nice. This is kind of annoying because Serp is really good again, but with Talonflame and Rose Raid running around, it's not that great. Unfortunately, he is packing the HP Ground. I switched into Magnezone and expect him to have the HP Ice, but I predicted wrong, and Magnezone does go down. So that is a little bit unfortunate, but it is good to know that he can't really touch the Gliscor knowing his moveset. I do go for Earthquake just to get some chip on anything, and now I can click Protect. I'm pretty sure this thing is choiced in some way. As I switch into Guja, right? Sorry, I keep stuttering. And it does 77%. That is really dumb. I should have switched into Superior. That's big because since Rose Raid is more defensive than anything, a Sludge Bomb shouldn't have been doing too much. But now that I let it Guja take the damage, it's going to be really hard to try and switch in Guja on the Rose Raid. And I don't know if I think I calced wrong, because on my calc it was saying it was doing around like 50, and I was fine with that damage, but 77, that's just a little too much for my liking. So I must have done something wrong calcing. Anyway, he sets up more spikes. I do have to be really careful with my Gliscor in the sense that once it goes down, I can't defog anymore, so I definitely have to be careful about that. Alcremie here shows me that it is defensive, and it has Calm Mind, so I have to go immediately into Superior. As long as Superior's around, Alcremie, Crook, and Dracofish are never the biggest problems in the world. So I definitely have to just keep that in mind. As I just leave Storm again into the Rose Raid, which comes out. And I'm looking at my end game here, which, I mean, it's still mid-game, but, like, I'm looking at my end game. And as long as he doesn't get spikes up, Superior and P2 look really good. Blacephalon's also really good, as I keep getting chip on this Dracofish, meaning that he has less and less switch-ins to the Clown, as he has Crook, and he has Crook, and that's kind of it, basically. And I guess the Talonflame can take one hit. Same with the Alcremie. Alcremie can take one hit, but can't really do too much back to me. But I'm just going to continue to keep my Superior healthy here. As I go out on the Gliscor, knowing this thing can't really touch me, he goes back out on the Alcremie. I take this opportunity to defog the spike away, as he just gets a little bit of chip on me, which is not the biggest deal in the world. I go on Blacephalon. I don't think this thing can touch me immediately, as Draining Kiss only does 19, so that's not that threatening. As he goes down the Crook on my Flamethrower, and I found out that this Crook is not AV, so that's good. Chipping this down is going to be a whole lot easier. He goes for knockoff. The next knockoff is going to be a roll, as I just go for Rock Tomb expecting him to switch out, but he actually stays in. It sucks, but it's kind of whatever, as he actually shows Foul Play, so he's not Scarf either, and that's good to know as well. Blacephalon outspeeds this thing. I'm going to go on to P2. I need a little bit more chip on this thing in order to try and kill this thing with the Clown, but he does switch out into Alcremie, makes a smart play. Basically, I just need to get a kill on something, and that kind of just, I need to get a Flame Charge kill on something. I can do that on Rose Raid, I can do it on Crook with a little bit more chip, and I guess Alcremie, I don't know, Alcremie is kind of a weird situation there. But anyway, I am going to go down to Goodra, and this is where the damage earlier kind of sucks because I don't live that, obviously. He goes on Talonflame, and I set up a sub here just to get the maximum damage I could. He's faster, and you're going to see here, he takes 56%. This thing is bulky. This is a bulky Talonflame, and that makes my life a little bit harder because Shadow Ball was originally doing like 75-ish%, but because he's bulky, it's only doing around half, which is big because originally it's just like, oh, I just need a little bit of chip, like 30% Talonflame. That's not too hard, but getting 50%, that's going to be a lot harder. But anyway, Crook is in here, and I do end up freezing it, so that kind of sucks. But he is low, and I did get the crucial chip at this point, so it is looking pretty good in that sense. He does Room with Therapy, so he does just, cure the freeze right off here. As I'm just going to go out into Blacephalon here, as he doubles back in the Rose Raid. I sort of expected that at this point, just because of the plays he's been making. Flamethrower still does 33 to Talonflame, which isn't bad, but he's just going to roost off the damage this following turn, as I'm sort of expecting that as he does. And it's just this weird situation overall we're in right now, as I'm just going to continue to try and paralyze this thing. If I paralyze Talonflame, it makes my life a whole lot easier, but I don't think he's going to let me do that anytime soon. As Alcremie is getting chipped down here, which is pretty nice, but he is just going to recover that up. Alcremie chipped nice, Talonflame's chips nice, and I just need to get a kill with the Talonflame with a Flame Charge up at this point, unless I do paralyze that Talonflame. I did have to sort of re-record this part, so I apologize if I'm reiterating anything I already mentioned. Alcremie does come in here, and I do just Ice Beam as always. I get a crit, and I freeze it, and that is big. That's big because I can play a lot more aggressively with my Blacephalon now without having to take chip from this thing, even though it's not doing too much. And now I can just click Shadow Ball, and eventually Talonflame's the main switch in at this point, and Talonflame is eventually going to get either crit or a Spadef drop, and one of those two I'm going to try and take advantage of. As I don't get it here, I'm going to switch out now because he's going to eventually click Acrobatics or Brave Bird or whatever he has, so I don't want to lose my Blacephalon for no reason there. As I just go out to P2, I can click Ice Beam again, and just rinse and repeat the cycle. Alcremie is getting low, and if this thing does stay frozen, which unfortunately he does for my opponent, I do apologize for that. I can just keep doing this process until I get one of those two things. As he does Roost Up, I stay in again, and this time you're going to see I get a Spadef drop. And that's really big. I have not revealed Flame Charge at this point, and now I think it's the perfect time to do it, because he stays in and roosts. That is huge because Shadow Ball kills this thing, and now Blacephalon guaranteed gets a kill against something, and this game is over basically, because nothing can take a hit, and I can get my Beast Boost up, and once I get the Beast Boost up, then Talonflame cannot take a hit, even without the Spadef drop. And you're going to see here, that is a nice way to start getting boost up, and Gel Bell does forfeit at this point. And due to a few freezes, a Spadef drop, and a little bit of hacks, your Northside Noiverns are able to win this game 3-0. I do apologize, Gel Bell, that you got so unlucky in this game. But anyway, GG, Gel Bell. Neither of us were definitely not in a winning position, to say the least, but I do personally feel like that Gel Bell definitely had the advantage a bit, and eventually he probably would have made it out unless I did what I did and got hacks and won that way. So it does suck, but we are going to take those. You got to take those every now and then, especially after the last two battles that just went up on the channel. I needed this. I think I deserve, we had a really hacksy week on the channel this week. But I really hope the audio is in sync for the battle, because I did have to re-record it, and if it's not, I do apologize for you guys. I also hope that I'm not butchering Gel Bell's name as I've been saying it the entire time. If I did, I'm sure he can correct me in the comment section below. But once again, GG Gel Bell. Hopefully our next game is a lot cleaner than this one, because at the end that was just not that fun for you, I would assume. And it was just, I don't like winning with hacks. But anyway, we are going to move up to a 2-2 record. We are back on our feet in the APM after losing really badly our first two games, and 2-2 is not that bad. But we are going to move on to our next week's battle. Next week we face off against Yadressal. We are continuing against people who are undefeated because Jelbo is 3-0 and Yadressal was 4-0. I don't know how to pronounce that either, so I'm sure someone will correct me there too. But that will be next week's video. Thank you guys for watching so much. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you like Pokemon Draft League content, consider subscribing to the channel. I'm gonna head out of here. Have a fantastic day, YouTube.